Elizabeth II, by the grace of God, of the United Kingdom, Canada, and her other realms and territories, Queen, Head of the Commonwealth, Defender of the Faith. Proclamation. To our faithful, the members elected to serve in the Legislative Assembly of our province of Alberta, and to each and every one of you, greeting. Whereas it is deemed expedient for certain causes and considerations to convene the Legislative Assembly of our province of Alberta for the first session of the 21st Legislature, we do will that you and each of you and all others in this behalf interested, on Thursday, the 12th day of June, in the year of our Lord 1986, at the hour of 3 o'clock in the afternoon, at our city of Edmonton, personally be and appear for the dispatch of business to treat, act, do, and conclude upon those things which in the legislature of our province of Alberta, by the common council of our said province, may, by the favor of God, be ordained. Herein fail not. In testimony whereof, we have caused these our letters to be made patent, and the great seal of our province of Alberta to be hereunto affixed. Witness the Honourable W. Helen Hunley, Lieutenant Governor of our province of Alberta, in our city of Edmonton, in our province of Alberta, this 3rd day of June, in the year of our Lord 1986, and in the 35th year of our reign. James Horsman, Provincial Secretary. Pray be seated.
Please be seated.
Honourable members, I am commanded by Her Honour, the Honourable the Lieutenant Governor, to inform you that she does not see fit to declare the causes of the summoning of the present legislature of this province until a Speaker of this Assembly shall have been chosen according to law. She therefore is pleased to retire from this Assembly to return at a subsequent hour today to declare the causes of the calling of this legislature.
Order! Please be seated. Honourable members, nominations are now invited for the office of Speaker of this Assembly.
Mr. Clerk, I take pleasure in nominating David Carter, the Honourable Member for Calgary-Egmont, to be Speaker of this Assembly.
Mr. Clerk, I am pleased to support the nomination of the Honourable Member for Calgary-Egmont.
Are there any other nominations? I declare the Honourable Member for Calgary-Egmont, David Carter, elected Speaker of the Legislative Assembly of Alberta for this 21st legislature.
please be seated? Members of the Assembly, thank you for the appointment to serve you and the people of Alberta as Speaker of this Assembly. All learned parliamentary source documents regard Mr. Speaker as the President or the presiding officer of this august body of decision-makers. Some members of the general public see the Speaker, especially during question period, as being something of a referee. As a sports fan, I want to go on record as now having much more sympathy for all referees. As I take on the responsibility of the chair, I first would like publicly to acknowledge my predecessor, the former member for Edmonton Meadowlark, who served the Assembly and the people of Alberta with distinction. In addition, I am sure all members will join me in saying a sincere thank you to the previous member for Athabasca for his time as Deputy Speaker. I look forward to working with the member for Lethbridge West as he takes on his new duties of Deputy Speaker. I thank my constituents in Calgary-Egmont for their confidence in me as their member of the Legislative Assembly. Calgary-Egmont indeed has a very special place in my life and in my heart. John Donne was the poet dean of St. Paul's, London. In the opening line of one of his poems, he begins, "No man is an island." So too, I am not an island. I greatly value my many friends and supporters who have freely given the gifts of friendship and wisdom over the years. In particular, I wish to acknowledge my family, to thank them for their gifts of love, understanding, and patience. For all people of the province should realize that elected public office places incredible demands upon both individuals and their families. My father is unable to be present as he is in the hospital in Calgary, and I ask all honorable members to join me in wishing him a speedy recovery. As your Speaker, I welcome all members to the 21st Legislature. 39 of 83 members are new to the Assembly. Many others of us undertake new responsibilities. Each one of us represents all of our constituents, no matter what their political stripe, cultural or linguistic background, whether or not they voted for us or chose not to exercise their right to vote at all. Each one of us is a politician. But now in the Assembly, we are also challenged to function as parliamentarians. This will allow the development of many new skills. There will be ample opportunity for questions, for debate, for consensus, friendships, and even laughter. Canada is a magnificent tapestry of geography and people. Alberta is also a magnificent tapestry of geography and people. You and I have been elected to serve not only our constituents, but all the people of this great province. You have pledged yourselves in that service, and so in turn, I pledge myself to the service of the Assembly of the Province of Alberta. Thank you. Please, Your Honor, the Legislative Assembly have elected me as their Speaker, though I am but little able to fulfill the important duties thus assigned to me. If in the performance of those duties I should at any time fall into error, I pray that the fault may be imputed to me and not the Assembly whose servant I am, and who, through me, the better to enable them to discharge their duties to their Queen and province, hereby claim all their endowed rights and privileges, especially that they may have freedom of speech in their debates, access to your person at all seasonable times, and that their proceedings may receive from you the most favorable consideration.
Mr. Speaker, I am commanded by Her Honor, the Honourable the Lieutenant Governor, to declare to you that she freely confides in the duty and attachment of this Assembly to Her Majesty's person and government, and not doubting that the proceedings will be conducted with wisdom, temperance, and prudence, she grants, and upon all occasions, will recognize and allow the Assembly's constitutional privileges. I am commanded also to assure you that the Assembly shall have ready access to Her Honor upon all suitable occasions, and that all proceedings, as well as your words and actions, will constantly receive from her the most favorable construction.
Please be seated. Mr. Speaker and members of the Legislative Assembly, I have the honour to welcome you to the first session of the 21st Legislature of the Province of Alberta. Priorities. My government's legislative and budgetary policy for this session of the Legislative Assembly will include all the priorities and programs set out at the opening of the fourth session of the 20th Legislature on April 3, 1986. My government will move quickly to fulfill commitments in agriculture, energy, employment initiatives, senior citizen programs, and other areas of importance to Albertans. These priorities have recently been strongly supported by the citizens of Alberta. My government is sensitive to the responsibilities contained in its new mandate and will work closely together with Albertans during the years ahead. Challenges will be met, opportunities will be seized, and the great potential of this wonderful province will be realized. My government shares the concerns of Albertans as we face difficult times together. Our basic industries have been hit by national and international economic circumstances, and as a result, the opportunities for advancement and prosperity are, for a time, more limited than before. My government also shares the basic optimism of Albertans who have achieved so much by commitment of hard work and individual initiative. Unemployment has a direct effect upon many of our people, bringing hardship and anxiety to individuals and families. The challenge for all of us now is to continue to use our basic strengths to progress in spite of adversity. My government proposes a balanced approach which will advance rights and equality, maintain excellent support programs for our citizens in need, respond with sensitivity to concerns of individuals, families, and volunteer groups, and continue to broaden our economic base at the same time as assisting our key agricultural, energy, and small business sectors. Agriculture. The Alberta Farm Credit Stability Program, announced on April 3, 1986, will provide $2 billion in fixed-rate financing with up to $200,000 per farm family unit. Loan application forms are now being printed and will be ready for processing at participating financial institutions very soon. The program will be as broad as possible in its scope, based on repayment ability and available security. With this new financing, farmers and ranchers in Alberta will have both the stability of fixed interest rates and among the lowest input costs in North America. My government has established a changed, more efficient organization of the departments of government. Agriculture, which is my government's #1 priority, is an important part of these changes. The new Associate Minister of Agriculture will be responsible for the Alberta Hail and Crop Insurance Corporation, the Surface Rights Board, the Weather Modification Advisory Committee, and will be responsible for the review of the role and mandate of the Alberta Agricultural Development Corporation. Farmers will be fully consulted in respect to changes to be made in the corporation and in hail and crop insurance programs. The Hail and Crop Insurance Review will be the most comprehensive of its kind since the programs were introduced in the 1960s. My government will provide a range of options for producers in insurance protection from damage caused by weather and other hazards affecting crops. Recommendations are anticipated during 1986. My government is changing the funding formula for drainage and erosion control projects undertaken under the Alberta Water Resources Grant Program. The increased funding, providing 86% provincial support, will improve rural water management and will increase our agricultural land base. Senior citizens. The Seniors Home Improvement Program extension will take effect July 1, 1986 to December 31, 1989. This extension will provide benefits to seniors with a total annual incomes under $23,000 who have not yet received assistance through the existing Seniors Home Improvement Program. Affordable senior citizen housing remains a priority of my government. Over 500 new units are scheduled for construction this year. Jobs for Albertans. My government recognizes the increasing need for job creation and will continue its commitment to employment support and training initiatives now underway, including youth programs. In addition, other training strategies will be developed to promote increased participation by women in training and development opportunities. My government recognizes the special employment needs of women and will develop choices for women through the provision of information, counseling, and workshops. My government will propose legislation to the Assembly to change the name of the Manpower Department to the Department of Career Development and Employment, reflecting new initiatives and priorities in the important areas of training and employment. Diversification of Alberta's economic base remains a priority of my government. New economic opportunities and new industries are encouraged. The magnesium plant to be built in southern Alberta and the Kimi Thermo-Mechanical Whitecourt pulp mill are both world-scale investments. The pulp mill will be the largest of its type anywhere. Using a mixture of Alberta woods, producing products which are new to the Alberta manufacturing scene, some 90% of the plant's production is estimated to be for export. Work on the magnesium plant is scheduled to begin late this year. Both projects are scheduled for startup in 1988. Our economic base is broadening year by year. Sulfur and forest products are now important elements of our resource base. The petrochemical, electronics, and metal fabricating industries have emerged as strong components of our manufacturing sector. A highly developed service industry involving tourism, high technology, and engineering add more economic strength. These newer initiatives will provide important opportunities and new jobs for Albertans. The Departments of Forestry, Lands and Wildlife, Tourism, and Technology, Research and Telecommunications, established earlier this year, are all actively involved with the private sector in stimulation of job-creating activity in Alberta's economy. A further important step in my government's program to stimulate job-creating activity is the Alberta Small Business Term Assistance Plan. Small business accounts for over 70% of new jobs created, and the new plan will provide much greater stability to the small business community for those businesses having majority ownership by Alberta residents and deriving at least 50% of income from active business sources. The $750 million program will provide eligible small businesses with a fixed interest rate of 9% for term financing up to $150,000 over a period of 10 years. Loan application forms for the program, which will significantly assist small business growth and development in Alberta, will be ready for processing through recognized financial institutions at the earliest possible date this summer. The Small Business Equity Corporations Program and the Alberta Stock Savings Plan are further important initiatives to improve the viability of small business and to encourage equity capital investments in this province. Small business is a major force in the development and growth of export markets. Many small Alberta manufacturing firms are now exporting products to other Canadian provinces and to other countries. Assistance is provided to exporters through the Alberta Loan Guarantee Program and the Export Services Support Program. With loan guarantees and improving productivity and technology, Alberta businesses working with government will improve their competitiveness in export sales worldwide. More jobs will also be created by my government's 5-year program to extend universal private line service to all rural telephone subscribers. Under the program, 100,000 party line customers will have access to private lines. This program, at a cost of about $500 million, will involve the upgrading of approximately 300 telephone exchanges throughout Alberta with digital equipment. This will not only allow for the connection to new private line service for present party line customers, It will permit improved services for those living in towns and villages. My government will ensure that Alberta's goals and objectives with respect to trade liberalization are effectively addressed in the pending Canada, United States, and multilateral trade negotiations. Energy. My government is committed to the long-term strength of our energy industry and to support its short and medium-term economic viability during this present difficult period of uncertainty in international crude oil pricing. In spite of pricing uncertainties in oil and gas markets, the longer-term prospects for our energy sector remain strongly positive. Albertans have established the reserves and the productive capacity in petroleum and natural gas, and my government, working closely with industry, has developed programs aimed at bolstering investor confidence and exploration activity through a period of price and market uncertainty. New shared industry government programs should result in more than $500 million of short-term stimulation to the vital drilling, well service, and geophysical industries. These programs will materially assist in creating activity and supporting employment through the summer and fall months. The Development Drilling Assistance Program is designed to encourage drilling activities and includes a well completion component. Approximately 40% of drilling costs, up to a maximum of $200,000 per well by way of grants or transferable credits against royalties, will be available up to a maximum under the program of $100 million. The drilling component will be paid when drilling has been completed on the well, and the well completion component will be paid when the well is completed and is capable of commencing production. The Well Servicing Assistance Program will help maintain employment in the well service sector. The program will provide 50% reimbursement by way of cash grants up to certain limits for contract labor costs incurred on or before September the 30th, 1986, for the maintenance and service of eligible wells, pipelines, and batteries. The Geophysical Assistance Program will provide a portion of the cost of field expenses incurred on or before December the 31st, 1986, for reflection seismic work on Crown lands and on lands not more than 1.7 kilometers from Crown lands. Oil sands and heavy oil developments are vital, not only for Canada's long-term energy supply, but today in Alberta, because of the capacity of these projects to provide employment in engineering and in the construction trades. Under a federal-provincial industry funding arrangement, engineering work is proceeding for the proposed Husky upgrader near Lloydminster. My government has also reached a funding agreement with the owners of the Syncrude project to allow continuation of the basic engineering and planning for the major proposed expansion of that project. Preparatory work for the expansion is estimated to cost $85 million. It will take some 2.5 years to complete and will allow the planning for the expansion to continue on the original schedule. By acting now in this way, it is also an investment in the long term by providing for the continued growth of expertise in oil sands development in Alberta. Suncor is also being helped by an adjustment to royalties on the production from its oil sands plant at Fort McMurray. This is in recognition of the financial difficulties the company is experiencing as a result of low oil prices and will help to retain Suncor as a viable employer within the Alberta economy. Commitment to Alberta women. As soon as the necessary legislation has come into force, appointments to fill all positions on the Advisory Council on Women's Issues will proceed. A balance of views from across the province will be assured because of the large number of nominations received from interested Albertans. A government-wide plan of action to provide a framework and direction for enhancing women's equality will be developed. The strategy will focus on employment, education, participation in public life, and on social services and health. My government will also be participating in 2 federal, provincial, territorial working groups. One will focus on the needs and concerns of Native women, and the other on the particular issues affecting immigrant and visible minority women. My government is committed to equality for women and will actively promote the full and equal participation of Alberta women in the life of the province. The November 1986 First Ministers' Conference will have as a major priority developing methods to improve the representation of women in training and retraining programs. Public lands. The grazing lease conversion policy, introduced several months ago, is consistent with my government's high priority for agriculture. The policy allows leaseholders to use arable lands for more productive agricultural purposes. Leased lands which are suitable for cultivation may be converted at market value, provided that they are not environmentally sensitive. Agricultural lands in the green area will not be sold unless the integrated resource plans identify agricultural use as a priority. This will ensure that environmentally sensitive lands are not being encroached upon. Further approvals of conversions in the southern and central administrative regions will be frozen until full public input has been received and any expressed concerns adequately reviewed. In this way, the policy will be sensitive to Albertans' needs, effective, well understood, and broadly supported. My government also will expand the highly successful Use Respect program. This is a program involving 4-H clubs visiting farming and ranching communities to encourage owners to provide reasonable access to their private and leased lands. It is hoped that over 25,000 farm and ranch homes will be visited between June and October of this year. Healthcare. My government has developed and is committed to the further improvement of one of the best healthcare systems anywhere in the world. To serve Albertans even better, the University of Alberta's Walter C. Mackenzie Health Sciences Centre has now been designated as Western Canada's first heart and heart-lung transplant centre. The University of Alberta hospitals undertook a successful heart and heart-lung transplant pilot program in 1985. The 3 cases in the pilot program represented a first for Alberta and Western Canada. The concept of the Walter C. Mackenzie Health Sciences Centre is for Albertans to have a world-class teaching, research, and treatment centre. The implementation of the heart and heart-lung program is a fulfillment of this concept, particularly in the areas of comprehensive cardiology and cardiovascular surgery. Community and social programs. My government's commitment to a broad range of social programs to assist Albertans who have personal needs is emphasized by the expanded home care program announced in April this year. Close to 25,000 Albertans benefit from this program annually. Funding will increase by 18%, and this increase will allow more Albertans to receive health care and homemaking services in their homes. Living independently in the familiar surroundings of one's home contributes to a sense of self-worth and good health. Home care programs provide a range of services in the home, including nursing rehabilitation therapy, personal care, homemaking, home health, meals on wheels, and friendly visiting. In addition to senior citizens, the program serves persons who are terminally ill, those discharged early from hospital, and persons under 65 who are chronically ill or disabled. Funding for women's shelters will be increased by 40% to a total of $3.5 million. These funds, to be provided to women's shelter organizations, in addition to the valuable volunteer support that many communities provide, will ensure that resources are available to respond to the concern of family violence. Food banks in Edmonton and Calgary are cooperating with my government in a current assessment and review of the scope and future role of food banks. By such consultation, a new, careful definition of the respective roles of government social services and volunteer agencies which serve in this way will be possible. The new Department of Community and Occupational Health will have a preventive health focus with responsibility for community, occupational, and mental health, in addition to the Alberta Alcoholism and Drug Abuse Commission and the Workers' Compensation Board. Affordable housing. Alberta is the first province to sign the new federal-provincial global funding agreement for low-income housing. Under the agreement, the federal government will pay 70% and the province 30% of the subsidy costs for future low-income housing projects. Over 700 units are planned in the current fiscal year. Help for municipalities. My government is responding positively to recommendations made by the Municipal Grant Structures Review Committee. By increasing unconditional grants on a yearly per capita basis over the next 8 years, Alberta's 364 municipalities will receive some $500 million in additional provincial funding. The opportunity for municipal governments to create employment at the same time as proceeding with needed local projects will benefit many Albertans. A full review of labour legislation will be undertaken by my government, and necessary amendments will be proposed to assure that the laws of the province, for the present and for the future, will be responsive to the needs and aspirations of employers and employees. Legislation will be introduced to implement the Alberta Stock Saving Plan, to amend the Municipal Taxation Act, and new proposals will be made in respect to local authorities' elections, employment pensions, the Women's Secretariat, mental health, and to implement the Hague Convention on the civil aspects of international child abduction. Members of the Legislative Assembly, in due course, you will be presented with the budget estimates. You will be asked to grant the necessary funds for the operating services and expenditures authorized by the legislature, and to endorse a program of capital financing for the Government of Alberta. I leave you now to the business of the session with full confidence that, as elected representatives, your debates and your votes will reflect your understanding of the public interests of all people of Alberta. I pray for your wisdom and strength in your deliberations.
Please be seated.
Mr. Speaker, I beg leave to introduce Bill Number 1, the Natural Gas Pricing Agreement Amendment Act, 1986. This bill will reflect the changes made to natural gas pricing since the October 31st, 1985 federal-provincial agreement.
The Premier has moved first reading of Bill Number 1, Natural Gas Pricing Agreement Amendment Act, 1986. Would all those in favor of the motion for the first reading say aye? Aye. All those opposed, please say no. The motion is carried.
A bill being Natural Gas Pricing Agreement Amendment Act 1986, introduced by Honourable Mr. Getty, is now read a first time.
I have the honor to table a copy of the speech graciously given by Her Honour the Lieutenant Governor.
Mr. Speaker, I have received from the Chief Electoral Officer of Alberta, pursuant to the Election Act, a report containing the results of the general election conducted on the 8th day of May, 1986, which states that an election was conducted in the following electoral divisions, and the said report further shows that the following members were duly elected. Athabasca Lac-La-Biche, Leo R. Piquette. Banff Cochrane, Greg P. Stevens. Barhead, Kenneth R. Kowalski. Bonnyville, Ernest D. Isley. Bow Valley, Thomas N. Musgrove. Calgary Bow, Patrick N. Neil Weber. Calgary Buffalo, Sheldon Schumer. Calgary Curry, Dennis L. Anderson. Calgary Egmont, David J. Carter. Calgary Elbow, David J. Russell. Calgary Fish Creek, William E. Payne. Calgary Foothills, Janet S. Coper. Calgary Forest Lawn, Leonard B. Barry Pashak. Calgary Glenmore, Diane F. Mirash. Calgary McCall, Stanley K. Nelson. Calgary McKnight, Eric C. Musgrave. Calgary Milliken, Gordon W. Shrake. Calgary Montrose, Richard D. Rick Orman. Calgary Mountain View, Robert A. Hawksworth. Calgary North Hill, Frederick A. Stewart. Calgary Northwest, Stan B. Casa. Calgary Shaw, James F. Dinning. Calgary West, Elaine McCoy. Camrose, Kenneth L. Rostad. Cardston, Jack W. Adey. Chinook, Henry Kroger. Clover Bar, Walter Buck. Cypress Redcliffe, Alan W. Highland. Drayton Valley, Shirley Cripps. Drumheller, Stan Schumacher. Dunvegan, Malcolm G. Glenn Clegg. Edmonton Avonmore, Marie Lang. Edmonton Belmont, Tom Sigurdson. Edmonton Beverly, Eddie Wasiuk. Edmonton Calder, Christy Melsness. Edmonton Center, William A. Roberts. Edmonton Glengarry, John E. Uni. Edmonton Glenora, Nancy J. Betkowski. Edmonton Gold Bar, Elizabeth J. Betty Hughes. Edmonton Highlands, Pamela T. Barrett. Edmonton Jasper Place, Leslie G. Young. Edmonton Kingsway, Alexander D. McEachern. Edmonton Meadowlark, Donald G. Grant Mitchell. Edmonton Millwoods, Jerry Gibault. Edmonton Norwood, Raymond J. Martin. Edmonton Park Allen, Neil S. Crawford. Edmonton Strathcona, Gordon S. D. Wright. Edmonton Whitemud, Donald R. Getty. Fort McMurray, Norman A. Weiss. Grand Prairie, C. Robert Elliott. Highwood, Harry E. Alger. Innisfail, Nigel Pengelly. Lacombe, Ron A. Moore. Lesser Slave Lake, Larry R. Shaban. Lethbridge East, Dick Johnston. Lethbridge West, John Gogo. Little Bull, Raymond A. Speaker. Lloydminster, Douglas C. Cherry. McLeod, E. Leroy Fjordbach. Medicine Hat, James D. Horsman. Olds Didsbury, Robert R. Roy Brassard. Peace River, Al Boomer Adair. Pincher Creek Crow's Nest, Fred Bradley. Panoka Rimby, Halver C. Johnson. Red Deer North, Stockwell B. Day. Red Deer South, John A. Odring. Redwater Andrew, Steve P. Zaruski. Rocky Mountain House, M. Jack Campbell. Sherwood Park, Peter Elzinga. Smoky River, Marvin E. Moore. St. Albert, Melvin B. Brian Strong. St. Paul, John Drobot. Stettler, Brian C. Downey. Stony Plain, James P. Herrick. Tabor Warner, Robert J. Bogle. Three Hills, Constantine E. Osterman. Vegreville, Gordon D. Derek Fox. Vermilion Viking, Stephen C. West. Wainwright, Robert A. Butch Fisher. Westlock Sturgeon, Nick Taylor. West Yellowhead, Ian W. C. Reed. Wetaskiwin Leduc, Donald H. Sparrow. Whitecourt, Peter Trinchy.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the speech of Her Honor, the Honourable the Lieutenant Governor, to this Assembly be taken into consideration tomorrow.
Having heard the motion by the Honourable Premier, do you all agree? Opposed? Motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the votes and proceedings of this Assembly be printed after first having been perused by Mr. Speaker, and that he do appoint the printing thereof, and that no person but such as he shall appoint do presume to print the same.
Having heard the motion of the Honourable Minister for Technology, Research and Telecommunications, would all those in favour of the motion please say aye. Aye. Opposed, if any? The motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the select standing committees for the present session of the Legislative Assembly be appointed for the following purposes: 1. Privileges and elections, standing orders and printing. 2. Public accounts. 3. Private bills. 4. Law and regulations. 5. Public affairs. 6. The Alberta Heritage Savings and Trust Fund Act. And 7. Legislative offices. And in addition thereto, there be appointed for the duration of the present legislature a special select standing committee on member services.
Having heard the motion by the Honourable Minister for Culture, would the members in favour of the motion please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. The motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, I move that a special committee be appointed consisting of 7 members hereinafter named. The said committee to prepare and report with all convenient speed lists of members to act on the select standing committees ordered by this Assembly. Mr. Trenchy, Chairman, Mr. Payne, Mr. Highland, Mr. Cherry, Mr. Shoemaker, Ms. Barrett, and Mr. Fox.
Having heard the motion by the Honourable Associate Minister for Agriculture, those in favour of the motion please say aye. Aye. Those opposed to the motion please say no. Motion carried.
Mr. Speaker, I move the Assembly now adjourn until tomorrow at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Having heard the motion by the Honourable Government House Leader, do you all agree? Opposed? The Assembly stands adjourned until tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock.